might be happening. Okay, now, how about now? I think there should be audio now. Julius, can you confirm that we have audio? Anyone else? Like Reaper is like OBS is sending audio. The input wasn't the right one, which is, I mean, it's not.
Oh yeah, I can hear it.
Okay,
I can hear it now.
good.
On my watching of your.
Okay, cool. Good. Okay, cool. We didn't lose anything then.
Maybe a little quiet though.
It is quiet.
Let me see.
How's that?
Let me see.
Okay, Julia says we've got audio. Is it loud enough? Can you hear it? Like, is it?
Okay, I think I was waiting for the stream to catch up. It sounds like maybe it's louder now.
Okay. Yeah, I think it should be good now because I'm routing it through Reaper, so I have control over how so that they can hear you as well. It should be good now. Audio is quiet.
Maybe it might actually still be quiet.
Still quiet. Check. How about now? Let's check. Is that better? I'm going a little bit into the yellows.
Check. This is a little hard because I'm hearing your the call and the stream. So
yeah,
like,
you know, there's
which is which.
There's a person on the chat who is replying saying Zach is still quiet. Oh shit! Damn it! My friend just called me. Zach is still quiet. Okay. How do I? Can you turn up your mic on your end?
It's like maxed out actually.
Okay, your mic is maxed out, and then that's going into.
I don't know if Can I turn up the volume in Google Meets?
Maybe try that. I'm turning up your volume here. Say something now.
Hello?
Yeah.
Is it louder?
Yeah, I turned up your volume in Reaper, so that should make it louder. Julius, can you confirm if you can hear him now? Say something, Zach.
Hello. Weise Sprache.
Cause yeah, I turned up the PC audio going into OBS, so that should increase your volume as well. And then the Reaper volume going into OBS is almost hitting the yellows. Like it's going into the yellows. Yeah, it's much better. All right, perfect. Awesome. I'm gonna actually lock these controls now. Don't want that coming up being a problem. All right. And can you hear the music? Everything sounds good now. Perfect. Thank you, Julius, for that assistance. I think we can get started now.
The music coming through?
They said everything sounds good, so I'm guessing.
Okay. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. My bad. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, like we said earlier, before we didn't have audio and we were talking,
Yeah.
Zach asked me as a Heideggerian, what do I think of this title, The Nature of Language? One second, let me just text my friend. He's calling me.
The title, which in German is
Yeah.
Das Wesen der Sprache.
Mhm.
That.
And we were talking about. He asked me what do I think of that title, and I'm not really a fan of the translation nature. I feel it should have been the way of language, but that's the thing. That's the next essay. So maybe it was a choice in that sense that they are in that sense maybe talking about an essence, and the next is more like a way to get to that essence, if anything.
That's true.
Because I just noticed that right now.
I would like the origin of language better.
Mhm.
Although, of course, that has another word in German, Ursprung. That's the endlessly hard
I mean-
thing about Heidegger. But
Just say the Tao of language. It's in the dialogue on language. He says that he's like, yeah, what you're talking about, like what we're talking about, the thing we can't say, it's like way Tao. He says it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just use that. Just call it the Tao of language. It'll be great. Like that Tao of physics book that everyone read like 20 years ago and got crazy with it.
right. Yeah, we probably won't make it because that's near the end of the essay. But yeah, he explicitly brings up Lao Tzu.
He does.
The
Yeah.
key word in Lao Tzu's poetic thinking. He calls it poetic thinking, which is actually a very rare thing, right? Heidegger even says that like Aristotle is a thinker, Kant's a thinker, but he doesn't call him a poetic thinker. These are like thinkers that fail to be poetic.
Yeah, poetic thinkers are like.
I forgot that he calls Lao Tzu a poetic thinker because I thought he only called Hölderlin, but he calls Lao Tzu a poetic thinker.
No, I mean he also calls Heraclitus a poetic thinker.
True.
Parmenides. To him, I think that's the problem is that the poetry and philosophy used to be similar, like siblings until Plato, and then Plato made the distinction between philosophy and poetry. But that's why if you look at Parmenides and all of those people, they're not too different for him from like say Hesiod.
Totally.
In that sense, right? And then like that's kind of also why I thought about that's why I think he thinks of people like Lao Tzu as poetic, in the same sense that he thought of say like Heraclitus as poetic. And yeah, in that sense, there's nothing poetic about Aristotle or Kant.
Right.
I mean, well, I think he's one of the few people I see in this, at least in this compilation of essays, referring to Aristotle's Perihermenias. Like that one's like, I was reading it with my class today, and we actually, let me see if I can. I don't have it here, but in Perihermenias, or On Interpretation, Aristotle has this line where he says, "All names are conventional. Nothing is a name by nature." Right? And then he goes on, and that's such a, like, nobody pays attention to that line. That's the line, like, nobody's ever talked. I'm like, he's saying something there. And then he's talking about how, he's like, okay, man is a name. Philo is a name, but not man, not philos, these are not names. Let's call them indefinite names. I'm like, okay. Then he's like, this is a verb. This is what a verb is. He's like, running is a verb. Not running is not a verb. Because it doesn't refer to one activity in that sense. Because if you were to say, like, for what the example he gives is, I think, like, if you say man is pale, that's a proposition that like that makes sense. But you can't say not man is pale because that proposition doesn't make sense. So it's the not man is not a name because it doesn't make a categorical predication make sense, right? So he says this. He says there's names, then there's these indefinite names that are like not something. This does the same thing for verbs. He says there's indefinite verbs. And he's like, the reason we have definite and indefinite verbs is because there's a difference that we cannot name, that has no definite name. And I'm like, Aristotle, did you not learn anything under Plato? Because you read Symposium, and that's literally what Diotima's speech is. Like, Diotima's speech is that Eros is the difference. It's not wisdom nor ignorance, not poverty nor resource, nor not ugliness nor beauty. And like, I mean, in that sort of Aristotelian logical categorical thinking, you can see what sort of that Seinsvergessenheit of that the forgetting of being that Heidegger talks about, just in the way that it's like even Aristotle may not have realized what he said when he said nothing is a name by nature.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's probably what Heidegger would say, right?
Right, it's the unsaid.
On my stream, the Heidegger's Kant, not the Kant book actually, the other Kant book, the one that's not the Kant book, but the phenomenological interpretation of critique of pure reason. And he starts by talking about at the beginning that philosophy is always full of darknesses, and that we can go back into older texts and shine light on the darknesses, right, that Kant didn't see in his own thinking, what he thought, right?
Yeah.
It's unthought, but we can uncover it.
Right, but then Kant did the same with Hume. Like, Hume didn't see this, and then Kant, like, you can say that Kant saw in Hume what Hume himself didn't see. Because if you look at the original Greek, that's not, it's kind of like the Kaindinga thing, where the original Greek is not nothing is a name by itself. The original Greek translates to none of the things have a name by themselves. And it seems only that the English translation make that into a nothing.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing too, that sometimes people will, say Heidegger thinks that the German language is special, and you have to look, because he's looking at the etymology in German. That must mean that only when you do German you understand the truth. But that's actually, he explicitly says no, you can do it in any language, and in fact you should do it in multiple languages and compare.
Right.
But you bring this kind of very pragmatic idea of language, that a word has to be a precisely defined term. That's when you're like, oh, it's a problem, because if I do it in German or in Sanskrit or in English or in Japanese or whatever, right, that we might get different things. But Heidegger's like, yeah, exactly. We'll trace all the terms the way that those differences are sedimented in language, and that would be productive to see what's common and what's different between languages, insofar as those differences might both be proper to the thing the language tries to name. Yeah. But then it show up in different ways.
And that's kind of what we talked about today in my class, where, because like before we started Aristotle on interpretation, between the Symposium and that, we read this paper by Drew Hyland called "First of All Came Chaos." It's actually, you can find it online as an independent paper, but it's part of the Heidegger and the Greeks collection. And it talks about this, like how the hesiotic chaos is not disorder or undifferentiated soup like we think of it. It's gap. And then he talks about how this gap is the gap that precedes the things that come before it, and how it is different, the difference that leads to identity. And so I'm like, look what Aristotle is saying. He's saying here that the difference has no definite name, but you go back to Hesiod and they're fucking giving you the name for the difference and calling it chaos, calling it gap. Right. I'm like, it's there in the Vedic corpus, it's there in the Norse, they call it Ginnunga gap. That's where Ragnarok, the cycle of Ragnarok, the Battle of Ragnarok is supposed to take place. This primordial nothingness, or whatever you want to call it, that preceded order and disorder. Because it's like,
right, exactly.
Right?
It's not just order or disorder.
It's the or. It's the or in the middle. It's the or that's neither this or that. It's the horizon, the difference between the line between the yin and the yang. And so, I mean, there's so much here that you can just, like, even prior to getting into this essay, I think that's kind of what he's talking about here, is that we need to look at what it is about language that makes us sort of react like this, speak like this, right? All right, so you want to get started?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So how we're gonna do this is I'm gonna read. Is that right? A
Mm-hmm.
paragraph. And okay, cool. And we just start from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. Okay, cool. What should we call it then? We don't want to call it the nature of language.
I like
The
the Tao of language.
Okay, the Tao of language, our new translation, part one. And it was 3 lectures. The 3 lectures that follow bear the title The Tao of Language. They are intended to bring us face to face with a possibility of undergoing an experience with language. To undergo an experience with something, be it a thing, a person, or a god, means that this something befalls us, strikes us, comes over us, overwhelms, and transforms us. When we talk of undergoing an experience, we mean specifically that the experience is not of our own making. To undergo here means that we endure it, suffer it, receive it as it strikes us, and submit to it. It is this something itself that comes about, comes to pass, happens.
Okay, so I think for me the most interesting part is that last line there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something like I'm trying to work on in my thesis, is that one practice I'm trying to get myself out of is talking about this as if it is something. Like, it, when he says it is this something itself that comes about, comes to pass, happens, he's not really talking about a thing or a something.
Yeah, and that's it. It actually doesn't even, English forces us to use that
Exactly.
word.
Yep.
The German is es macht, so it's just, the only thing it is s. Oh, so it's, I think the reasoning is something is because that's.
But that's what I'm saying. Why? If you removed it, it is this itself that comes about, comes to pass, it happens.
Right.
If you remove that something,
In German, it could be er, sie, or es, right, for
Yeah.
masculine, feminine, or neuter. So they're using the neuter here, s. But yeah, exactly. You could just say,
it leaves it ambiguous without the something, in the sense that the kind of ambiguity that Heidegger wanted from this kind of
Totally.
writing, right? Like I think it's, and this, it's not just in Heidegger. It's English Heideggerian, like writers.
yeah,
Like just the way they use the term pragmatic as well. They use the term something as a manner of speaking. It's like, but that's exactly what we're trying to get away from in that sense, right?
totally. And I was just, yeah, it's, I got a little confused for a second there because I don't see this sentence quite. It's weird, really different in the German, actually.
What is it?
Es macht sich etwas, which is like, so it's like S, I don't know how you want to say it, like, it's like not something, but it's is, it macht is power, like it makes.
Yeah.
Happen. And then es schickt sich, like as in sending or history or destiny. And es rubt sich, so like we like submit to it, which at first made me think it was the previous line, but no, it's not. So it's like really different in the German.
Very different. Comes about, comes to pass, happens.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. But that, yeah, like, I mean, that's what I sometimes don't understand. Like, and see, that's the thing, right? Like, people think it's this. It is on one hand like the nature of the English language, like you said. But I think English is somehow weirdly, precisely because of what a mongrel of a language it is,
True.
perfectly suited for the task of speaking being in that sense. Like, I think I've said this to you before. I don't think English, in that sense, as we talk about it now, is the name of a language. English is the way of speaking of one branch of humanity, the westernized branch. So like even if you speak French, even if you speak German, those languages have to exist within a larger Anglo kind of framework. And so like I don't think English is necessarily a language. It is the, like, if you think about English as a process metaphysics, it started off with like Old Norse and Old English, and then it's got all of these influences to the point where now it's a constant process of trying to find the right words.
Yeah.
It's not because it doesn't really have like a homeland. The homeland of contemporary English is the internet.
True. Yeah, well, and also, yeah, I mean, it's welcome to the spam bot in the Twitch chat. It's, yeah, I mean, I Noam Chomsky talks about that, like English is, and that's something that the poet who I worked with, Myung-Mi Kim, she talks about English is plural, right? Different that there's like almost like, or even like as Heidegger might say it, like Englishing Englishing itself, rather than a stable set of words or terms or syntactic structures called English, right?
Right, like I mean, you could even argue that, like broadly, we say okay, American English and British English, Indian English, African, but like British English has different, like you got Cockney, Liverpool, like they have different ways. Even in America, you got like Southern English, like Northern. If you go like Minnesota stuff, like the way they speak is almost like closer to the Canadian accent, right? So yeah. But then like something I found out on Twitter is Australia. Right? Australian English is the most, like the least diverse accent group, in the sense that while Australian English by itself seems so bizarre from the rest of the English with its pronunciations and stuff, within Australian English there is very little diversity. So whether you go to East, West, North or South Australia, everyone basically speaks like this, mate. Like there's no difference between they all sound like, yeah, you just have, but now it's transitioning. Like Aussie accents are transitioning. I read that. Like they're because of like American and media and stuff, younger Australian like children are starting to lose those original Aussie accent pronunciations that we would like associate with, and they're making more like their vowel choices and stuff are becoming sort of more naturally just because of TikTok and having an iPad from the age of like 3 or whatever.
It's also interesting to me because I feel like, you know, even though it's its own thing, Australian accent is much closer to British. Like they drop the R, non-rhotic, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But so that's interesting that it's like moving more American.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's what's happening with Indian as well, right? The traditional stereotypical Indian accent comes with the British inflections. That's why we have the hard T's and the hard D's and the. But now, since the 70s, because more Indians have been migrating to the U.S. rather than say the U.K. And
in English.
In the Indian accent, we don't have an Indian accent in Hindi. That's just speaking Hindi.
Well, like different regions. Of
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's already true. But I'm saying like if you were to look at my natural like Indian accent, compare it to the Indian accent of a PhD student who came to the U.S. 80 years ago, not 80, in the 80s. On average, there would be a difference, because the trend has been sort of less British and more American.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah, and so like accents change.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That even happens, I feel like, in in the sense of like the American accent, in the sense that like it's pretty like in young people, it's like it's pretty rare to hear those like strong Boston accent, like New York, that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff is getting flattened out too, like the regional differences in America. For some
Yeah.
reason, I guess.
I think like Boston accent.
The American.
Yeah, Boston accent. Then like there'd be like the Philly accent.
Yeah.
I think the southern ones are still like more
Southern
rooted, still going like this. But like I mean, Florida like very like. I mean, I live here. I don't really like hear like that traditional like Florida southern accent too much. Like
Yeah,
sometimes,
totally.
but yeah, accents weird, man. So yeah, let's move on if you want.
Cool. So keep reading.
Yeah.
Or... Okay. To undergo an experience with language, then, means to let ourselves be properly concerned by the claim of language by entering into and submitting to it. If it is true that man finds the proper abode of his existence in language, whether he is aware of it or not, then an experience we undergo with language will touch the innermost nexus of our existence. We who speak language may thereupon become transformed by such experiences, from one day to the next, or in the course of time.
Okay, hang on. Do you see that? Do you see that? That's that typo there. 3 N's in innermost.
Oh, I didn't even know.
No, it's in my original paper copy from like.
It's still here.
It's still in the first edition paper copy. So like, they didn't even notice. Like that's still there. Innermost nexus. Like I would not have noticed that had it not been like right there, like big on the screen. But
There's a famous poem. There's a famous poem by the poet Arne Florian that's just one word, and it's pronounced it's like the word is light, but it's spelled Lighghght. And right, the idea is, you could put as many, those letters are silent. You could put as many GHs in there as you want,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't change the pronunciation of the word, which would also kind of be like light stretching the words.
yeah,
But, that's interesting here because that's the thing. It's like you could put as many.
you can put as many in. Yeah, yeah. It could just be the same word.
Stretching out between.
Yeah. No, so we have like a symbol like that when you write in like Sanskrit and stuff. There's a special symbol that just denotes extension of a sound. So if you're saying like ah, and if you're like say captioning music where like a sound, a note has been prolonged, but it's part of a word. Like let's go. So they'd write let's go, and then they put that symbol at the end. Maybe even a bunch of times to count how many measures it goes on for and stuff like that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Also, the other day I was talking in class about like silent letters and stuff, and I realized if you think about it from the perspective of polysemy, there's no silent letters. There's just us with one-to-one expectation of letter correspondence. Like
Yeah.
it's not that the K in night is silent. The K in night sometimes makes an N sound, sometimes makes a K sound.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that the P in pneumonia is silent. It's that the P sometimes makes a P sound and sometimes makes an N sound, the pneumonia. And it's like we don't see that because we see it as P not making a sound. And I'm like, no. That's the dualism there. We see it as P or not P. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. P is there. It's just not making that traditional conventional P sound that you're used to. So you're like, it's not there. So it's like Nagarjuna sense of conventional. I've been thinking about silent letters like very, very differently for the last few like weeks, you could say.
Totally. It's really funny that you say that because when I was a kid, me and my brother got in this like big argument when we were like little kids because I said that in the word blade, the
Mm-hmm.
e at the end is not silent, and he said it is, and I was like, well, I can hear it. It's blade. It's because it comes off of the D.
Yeah.
And then he was like, he asked my mom, and my mom said, "You're right. It's silent." And I was like, "It's not." I was so mad. I was like, "It's
Because
not
you
silent."
take it off, it becomes blad.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But the old way of writing blade was BL, then that AE, that which comes in encyclopedia and onomatopoeia, that and then D. Then you'd be like, okay, then it's blade, because it's the
Yeah.
aid, but
Mhm.
blade doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
So like
right.
in that sense, you're both right. You're both right. Children are always right. Adults are wrong about things. I told this to my class today. I wish I was teaching you guys in like second grade, and not like after you finished high school, because you're already stuffed with bullshit. I taught second graders like last year for this like Teach for America thing, and it was so much fun because they have no filter, no like like their preconceived notions. They take them as jokes anyway. So to like just talk to them about like, hey, what's the opposite of all? And they're like, none. I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, all the students in this class are 7 years old. And they're like, no, some of us are 6. I'm like, okay. None of the students in this class are 8 years old. They're like, no, some of us are 7. And then you watch them realize that the common opposite to all and none is some. And they're like,
Yeah.
whoa. And even the teacher was like, hang on. She was like, that's not what we teach, but you're right. I'm like, yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. I'm like, I didn't mean to insult the teachers, but like, it's the system that everyone sort of works in. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very funny. It's very Nietzschean of you that the kids are never wrong.
They're not.
You know, he has all that about play and
I mean, I think of that like about
child
myself
play.
too. Yeah, like I think about like that about myself too. When I was a kid, I was right. Then something happened to me, and I thought I had the right way, and then like now that's why like what I'm looking back is the stuff that I thought about as a kid. Because since then, it's all been categorical nonsense.
Right. Maybe it's like, you know, when you were a kid, you were underway.
Mm-hmm.
And when we phrase it that way, we're even committing the sin of saying that the way ended. Now we're in the
Yeah,
throes
and
we're
a
still-
kid isn't obligated to anyway. The kid's just being a kid. You show them this, you show them that, you show like they'll get as easily bored and come back to doing something else. Like they don't like some like I don't know like not having focus in that sense probably is a good thing. Maybe we were too like we have horse blinders on. And I think like that's kind of what like Heidegger is talking about here is that when he says this like experience, right? The claim of language is like we don't realize it. We think language is something we have, a tool for communication.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've been taught. But if you sort of go back to language has us. Like we're helpless until we learn how to signal, be it verbally or sign or writing. We're kind of helpless like any other animal as a child until we start learning to appropriate
Yeah.
what is given to us in the way that is useful. Right? In that sense, the child's first linguistic expression is the sort of the rejecting cry. Like the first breath that a child takes as when after it's born, the first breath of but it's a cry. It's like the popping into getting thrown into existence. But we never like submit to that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going. That just there's a quote from this book, Theory of the Avant-Garde, that I need to find.
What book is
We
that?
talked about this book is called The Theory of the Avant-Garde,
Okay. Interesting. Gotta look
but
that up.
there's a quote in here I need to read. I just have to remember where it is. But yeah, no, I totally, completely agree with what you're saying. It's exactly about what we're talking about. I just have to remember what chapter it's in. I can't remember where it was.
Who's the book by?
It's by Renato Poggioli. It's like the first book that kind of defined the term of studies of the avant-garde, and it talks about the alienation of the avant-gardist. And this section is on the psychological alienation, but it's exactly about this idea of like children creating a secret game, a secret language. If I can just find it. Where is it? I can't find it, but it's something like it would be so perfect if I could find the quote. But oh wait, here's our last gasp. Is that I remembered I can check the index.
I remember a student didn't know what the index was. They asked me if that was a contents page, and I'm
They'd
like,
never
oh
seen one before.
no, oh no.
But feel free while I'm looking for this. If you have anything, if you want to say, keep talking.
I'm just gonna play some music.
Or cut off the conversation.
Let's try some other. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. A little bit of sustain.
Nice. I may not be able to find it. That's so sad. Oh, okay, here it is. I found it. Okay, here's what I wanted to say.
Yes.
This little thing, which is talking about Nietzsche and Dadaism in the avant-garde, and it had been talking previously about how Dada is not only a nonsense word, but it's a baby word. That's what baby
Yeah.
says. This tendency calls to mind the theory sustained in a paradoxical essay by the youthful Nietzsche. According to his theory, metaphor, that is, the idiom of poetry, would have originated in the desire of a group of youths to distinguish themselves by a kind of secret language. Their language would be opposed to the prose idiom, since that was the means of communication in the old generation, and in patriarchal society it dominated the sign of authority and an instrument of power. In other words, from this point of view, the same linguistic hermeticism, which is one of the avant-garde's most important characteristics of form and style, would be conceived as both the cause and the effect of the antagonism between public and artist. So basically, I was just thinking about that because there's this idea of poetry as like a children who don't want the parents to understand what they're talking about, so they invent a secret nonsense language. So that secret game, the words are meaningful because because they're no thing, because they're not about in the sense making, but they're about the game of
keep hiding.
And yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that the play is the words, communicating language itself.
Yeah, there's no point to the game but
Right.
trying to keep fooling the parents.
Yeah, exactly.
That, like, in that sense, I think it's like pretty punk rock. It's like metaphor is like old punk rock. Like these people were like, I don't want the old people to do it the old way. I don't want to use prose idioms, so I'm gonna use metaphor, poetic idioms, and that's like original punk rock.
Totally.
Yeah, but yeah. So continuing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But now it could be that so we're talking about experiencing language, right? So here, let me finish the paragraph. But now it could be that an experience we undergo with language is too much for us moderns, even if it strikes us only to the extent that for once it draws our attention to our relation to language, so that from then on we may keep this relation in mind. Yeah, so Heidegger's basically saying, right, that our relation to language is obscured from us, and we're trying to force ourselves to have an experience which would require submitting to language so that it could shock us into seeing the relation we have to language.
I think there's a second layer to this, is that when he says relation to language, at least in the English here, we're talking about it in a verbal form. The relating to language. He's not talking about the relation as itself a thing, a categorical thing that exists, but this process between two things. So us are relating to language. So this is sort of the second layer, is that not only is this expression or this experience one of sort of showing us what this relation truly is, that it's a relating and not a static relation between two relata. Second, that this relation comes prior to the two relata. Language itself is expressed in linguistically. And third, that we are when we say relation to language, we keep in mind something other than the relating. Like that. So in this, we realize already that saying relation to language is the incorrect way of, or insufficient way of saying that. It's a relating between language and human. And that relating is the event of Erasmus.
Yeah. The which is good, because then you're talking about the event of the event. Erasmus.
Right, like that event of the event, yeah.
I was just looking up that the word relationship to confirm is Verhältnis, which is, that German prefix fair on top of Hältnis, like
Holding, yeah.
right? So, and that's, Hululan has all that stuff about in poetry, the stop in the middle. And that's what he says, right? The caesura in the middle of the line, that's the real word. All the other words are not the pure word. It's the stop gap in the middle.
Exactly. And this is why like I'm so glad you brought up the hold, because you know what the Sanskrit cognate for that is? Dhar.
What?
As in dharma. That's why they say that Hinduism and Buddhism are not religions in the same sense, because they say they're dharma. Buddhism is a dharma, Hinduism is a dharma, because they're not religio in the sense of this extending like back or tying back. They're more the case of something that holds together. In that sense, there is that ligation tying idea. But the idea is that you have the capital D Dharma, which is the way of holding, like the Buddha's way. There's the Buddha Dharma. But then you have what is translated in English as the lowercase d Dharma, Dharma, which is their way of referring to beings. Because a being is that which holds its vasin, its essence, its svabhava, its own bhava, its own vasin, its own essence. And that a being is no thing but that holding on to its essence. But then Nagarjuna comes around and says that essence itself is no thing but all other things coming in, like it's nothing but conditioning. So this idea of hold, our hold, the whole language as on us. That's what relation to language actually means. If you're trying to if you were going by the Germanate. It's not a relation like, oh yeah, these two things are related. No. This thing, it's a holding on, like a captivation.
Yeah. That makes you think too, because he describes thinking that way.
Grasping.
I think these are connected. Because he thinks thinking transpires in language, but that thinking holds us, but that for thinking to be, we have to respond to let it hold us. So that's kind of where we're working between that. It's like we're not, thinking and language are not tools for us to use, right? We respond to them.
Or not just tools for us to use. We can use language as a tool, but that's not its essence in that sense.
Yeah, true. I guess Heidegger might want to say once we turn into a tool, it changes to signs or something, right?
Right, but it's still saying that unspoken, unsaid in the back, that if we sort of choose to, that's kind of what he's talking about. Because here when you say relation to language, and if you talk about it in the sense of this captivation, this hold that language has on us, then we sort of think about it differently. You think about this experience language gives us differently. We think about... give me 1 second. Headphones. Could you put on headphones?
Yeah, no, I am.
So the notion here that he has, that we have this relation to language is an active relating, a holding on to that hold that language has on us.
Exactly.
Right? And to sort of just talk about cognates for a second again. Earlier when you cognate may not be exactly the right word, but what I mean is counterpart. Cognate would mean they have they're linguistically, genetically cousins. But what I mean here is this is the equivalent word or the counterpart word. Sometimes they are cognates. Like for example, the Zain, the Fu of Fusis and the Bu of Sobhava are cognates, historically, genetically speaking. Dhar of Dharma and the health hold here may not be direct cognates, but they do say the same thing. Similarly, what you said earlier when you said macht as making, that's karma. Kar. The root kar means to do. So
Could also be power.
not power, but production, creation.
Yeah, so it is quite similar.
So the word for I is aham. Ahamkara means I making, I doing, but the connotation of ahankara is ego, arrogance. So when you say in Sanskrit someone has ahankar, you're basically saying they're making themselves to be bigger than what they might be. So ahankara, arrogance, ego is in Sanskrit like etymologically already this constructed idea of the self. On the other hand, say omkara means saying om, but om is like the mythopoetic creation sound of Hinduism. So when you're saying om, you're creating the sound of creation itself. So it's an om. That sound om is called omkara because, like the word, it was a doing of an action, right? So in that sense, like these two, like I mean, dharma and karma are sort of pillars of Buddhist, Hindu, like Eastern thought. In that sense, it's just astonishing because even Buddhist scholars generally take these to mean what they traditionally mean as like religion and this like sort of ritual action or whatever. But etymologically, that sort of idea misses us. Like we don't necessarily like see that. Especially like when it comes to this, like when you think about relation, like we would not have thought of this had you not thought about the German. We would not have realized that in the sense it is saying, so that like when Nagarjuna says all dharmas are empty, that the dharma he is referring to is the lowercase dharma, which means being. But also the capital D dharma, which means way or Tao.
Is that one of the one of his?
That's the last like so the last chapter of his book. Where it's like so because he shows the emptiness of all. Like he shows why causality is empty, why all the ways of categorizing are empty and all of that, and then in the end he's like, no, all ways are empty. But when you think about that in like the Buddhist polysemy and grammar, because Sanskrit doesn't have upper lower case, so in Sanskrit it just says all dharmas are empty. Then if you transliterate it to English, you're like, well, if you make it a capital D dharma, it translates to all ways are empty. Like all theories, all ways, all conventional, categorical, metaphysical, on-take ways are empty in that they all point to the same. Or you say that all entities all beings are empty in that their essence, their svabhava is shunyata, it is emptiness. It is dependent co-origination. So it goes, so like that polysemy of one sort of word is, there's a lot there.
Right. Yeah, it would be cool to do. I mean, I guess you're maybe kind of doing it in your work. But
a little bit.
Poetic reading of Nagarjuna in that way, where you kind of go back.
But it is poetic, like in that, like what I mean is like.
Oh no, I don't think that it's not poetic, but I just mean to try to find the darknesses, so to speak, even his own thought.
Yeah,
he's already.
That's
emptiness.
That's kind of what I'm. Yeah. I see.
Yeah, totally.
Because like one of the issues that I have, like I said, is like the something that came up here, right?
Yeah.
Is that Buddhist scholars who are not familiar with Heidegger still write and express their ideas in, what do you want to call it, like dualist terms, using terms like consciousness and
Oh yeah.
force of nature.
Object terms,
Yeah, subject object terms and stuff like that. And I'm like, so my thesis on one hand is like Buddhism, like Nagarjuna and stuff, is a good way to understand Heidegger, but Heidegger's way of writing is a good way for maybe Eastern people to start translating, rather than using the traditional conventional ways of translation. In
Which
in
is
that
this
poetic
way
sense.
of thinking about text, right? It's
Mhm.
that the between both texts, like both texts impact
Yeah.
each other. It's
Yeah.
one-way causality. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like hermeneutics in that sense is like genetic to the Indian. It started with mythopoesis the same way as with Hesiod. If you look at the Vedic origin myths, they're very similar. And to bring that mythopoesis into like metaphysics and then into it requires like there's a lot of similar like forces at play there.
Yeah.
But it's and even more so that poetic aspect, like that's the difference, right? Like in the West you had the division between logos and mythos, largely poetry and philosophy, and that split did not happen in India.
Interesting. Why,
So
why would you say-
no, because and so that's why on one hand you have Indian science and religion are not separated, because they never were. That separation happened in the West that allowed rational thinking and mythological thinking to go their separate ways, and then you have religion but for a lot for in India until the British arrived, there was no difference between those two. The physics, the geometry, the astronomy, all of those were very much like the Greek, like holistic and intertwined with each other.
Totally.
And so
Yeah.
that split that split didn't happen, and that's why a lot of the Indic texts that you see, especially the older ones, they're still written in poetic form, and have like poetic, like they're poetic in that sense.
Yeah.
Even when you say like you're like, oh, this is a treatise, it's most likely in a meter, poetic meter, than in like a prosaic form that we
Yeah.
would think of a treatise, because
Yeah.
that aspect of like musicality and poetry was never split
Yeah.
in the East in that sense.
I mean, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, yeah.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it
Right.
also leads to like superstition and stuff, and like
Sure.
like we have people who can't separate it anymore.
Yeah. I also think, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying in terms of the turn to prose, like that happens in Aristotle, which isn't, I mean, at least there's one theory that was kind of an accident, because some people think that Aristotle did write like Plato, like basically plays, but those were
Lost,
and the
yeah.
text we have are just the lecture notes. But I also think sometimes I feel like the West has invented a narrative that it split harder than it did from like religion, because it's like, you know, I was just reading Leibniz on my stream the other day, like inventor of calculus, rational philosopher, and it's all about Christian God.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, same with
religion
Newton.
all the way through, yeah.
Same with
It's
Newton,
true.
right? Newton.
Oh yeah, Newton, even not even just like like Catholic religion, but like, you know, alchemy and
Yeah,
like
Bible
that.
study and stuff like that. He went all the way, like he went hard, and like that's kind of
And
like,
all crazy weird
yeah,
shit.
yes, he went in
Gold.
like
using.
I know. I tell my students about this, and I'm like, you don't know half the shit Newton did. Like, you only hear Newton. They're like, oh yeah, Newton's laws, and then you talk about like people curse Newton. Why did Newton have to invent calculus? Now we have to say. I'm like, you don't know half the shit Newton did. He took a spoon and he like started to poke his optic nerve to see like how light affects the optic nerve. And he has. If you look at the optics, the book, there's diagrams of that. He's drawn it.
I didn't know that.
He took like a knife or a spoon and he was like poking like. Manually activating his optic nerve to initiate flashes in his eye because he was working on his theory of light. Like, oh my god, Newton was insane, and he apparently like didn't give a fuck if anyone liked him or not. So he'd go and give lectures to like empty classrooms. Like he'd stand in front of the board and just talk, and people were like people would attend and then leave because he didn't give a fuck if anyone was there, and then he would just lecture to empty classrooms. Like, he was very unpopular. He had like no friends.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, people hated like Newton was
right there.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like, and this is that stuff that I get to talk about very often because I come from like history of science, so this is the stuff I used to be like fascinated by, like in that sense, like the personal lives of scientists. Like, what are these guys doing when they're not in the lab or like doing science? And it's like it's always terrible, like weird, wacky stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is relevant.
Right.
To see, yeah.
And that's the thing about Newton, right? He wasn't just like alchemy like anyone else. Like he tried to do like, I mean, to his credit, like scientific alchemy. Like he was trying to be like, if there's a physics behind alchemy, I'm gonna find it, and there has to be because God promised it. And it's like, okay, that's kind of badass.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah. Like there's like a lot of people who don't know that like Newton had all these crazy views, or that Leibniz wrote so much about God or whatever. And then there's some people that do, but a lot of people that do will be like, they'll just like, oh, that's weird. That's weird how he, like, people were saying that, and like in my stream, it's so funny how Leibniz was so smart, he invented calculus.
And he believed in God.
Believe in this God stuff. And like, I don't think it pulls apart that easily, right? Like this was for him all of a piece, and he probably wouldn't have discovered calculus if he hadn't also been trying to find the God particles. I mean,
it just reveals how weak our idea of smart and intelligent is, because it just means, we think being able to do math means being smart, and if you're religious, then you're stupid. No, that's definitely that's how stupid people think.
Right.
For the history of humanity, the smartest people have been like ambiguous about both, largely. Like,
yeah, well, and it's also like, yeah, exactly. It's like if like it's exactly like you said. It's because you already believe that believing in God is dumb and inventing calculus is smart. So therefore, but it's like, if you actually do think that Leibniz was really smart, or Newton to invent calculus, not to say that those ideas are right, but that it might be possible that a smart person did believe them, and that it might be more complicated than it seems. Right?
Yeah, but also like, if they're smart enough to come up with calculus and they believe in God, doesn't your dumbass think that they could be right? It's like who are we compared to Newton and Leibniz? So it's like I mean, oh my god, yeah. There's so like, even like I was telling my students today, we were talking about this gap and difference and stuff, and I'm like, look, here's the thing about like say Schrodinger's cat. Schrodinger's cat, people confuse Schrodinger's cat. Like physicists get confused, and the way they teach it is confusing. Because the experiment is broadly, okay, you have a cat in a box, and it could at any point randomly die or not die. And you don't know from outside whether the cat is alive or dead. Now, what this has ended up becoming is that, that the cat is in a superposition of both states, dead and alive.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a thought experiment. A, there's no real experiment. B, it's a thought experiment. That means there's really no cat. The idea of the thought experiment is to show that our conventional thinking and language doesn't have the ability to grapple with that in-between situation. That's like what Aristotle said, that there's this difference which has no definite name. We're so used to propositional, metaphysical, categorical thinking that we're like, oh yeah, dead or alive, dead or alive.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
There's no in between. There's no way for our language that has been forgotten. It's been wiped out to express this in between.
Yeah.
I'm like, so the Schrodinger's cat is it's not a exhibition of whoa, reality is weird. No, reality has always been like that. We've just never developed the right way to describe it. We're weird.
Yeah, true. Yeah, totally.
Because when you think about it, it's not like classical physics, conventional physics is completely self-evidentially true. There are aspects of it that are like quantum like, which I mean, like say like Einstein showed with relativity and stuff. There's a lot of assumptions that go into classical physics. Yeah. That paint that picture of reality that have like our language. Like nobody knows what a force is. You ask a physicist what a force is, they'll tell you mass into acceleration. That doesn't tell me what the word means. But then you look at it etymologically, force comes from forth. A force is any pushing forth.
Extension.
Yes. Well, not extension, but like any pushing. So extension in that sense would be like, phusis would be self-pushing forth. A self-forcing.
Right. Yeah.
But we don't think of it in that way. We don't think of force linguistically because linguistics is separate from physics and science. Science and physics has their own categories, and it's like force is mass, and you're like, what is mass? And they're like, well, they don't know what mass is. Right. Mass is the amount of matter in a body. What is matter?
Yeah.
Now there's no definition for matter because matter and energy have been shown to be the same since the 20th century.
Because the terms are defined relationally.
Yeah, or rather, relation is the defining. Relating is the defining.
Right. And so the question of what any of those beings are is actually is like pushed out to the side because the question is just how they relate.
Yes.
Predictions about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The statistical relationships and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's insane that we don't even care about that. It's not important, Rich. Shut up and calculate. Julia says the weird beliefs of old masters are likely because they were I mean, yeah, but they're not that weird.
Yeah.
Look, when you think about it, the thinking of scientists and sociologists that they stuff today is way weirder than what the people used to think before. I mean, I think it is stupid for people to believe that religion and science are two separate things, and that atheism and theism are two separate things. Those aren't. They're not. They're those ways of speaking are themselves a product of their time.
Yeah.
Because you can't go back into you can't go back into Newton's time and be like, oh, like you were saying, you're a scientist, therefore you're atheist. No.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. People read that back into history. Like, oh, today we have this idea that there's this opposition between science and religion. So, it must be that if a scientist like Newton or whoever expressed religious beliefs, they must have just been like saying it so that the church would leave them alone and they could do their science work. When in fact, for them, it was all interconnected, right? It wasn't a position.
Mm-hmm. And Galileo, so just to speak of the relation to the church, the relation between Galileo and the church and Newton and the church is very different. Newton lived in England. The Church of England was a little bit more friendly to scientific research than the Catholic Church in Rome. But this is I don't know if I have it here. This is in Paul Feyerabend's book Against Method, where he talks about Galileo. He's like, you think Galileo went to the church with data to convince them? They're not gonna get convinced by your conclusions if they share completely different premises.
Yeah.
The church was so set on an Aristotelian basis that Galileo had to try an had to go to an Aristotelian level, in the sense that he had to be like, look, your entire thing is that Aristotle wisest dude ever. I agree. What I'm saying is, if Aristotle was the wisest dude ever, and if he was alive today, and I showed him this data that contradicted his own theory, would the wisest dude ever not change his theory? He's wise.
Yeah.
Wouldn't he be open to
Yeah.
and they didn't like that,
Yeah.
right?
He also, yeah, he wrote poems he wrote poems in honor of the moons and named the moons he discovered after family, the Medici family. Like, there's all kinds of. It's really interesting.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? Like, that's like the equivalent of like people like buying a star for someone and like naming it after them today, and like giving it to them. Like, yeah, I bought you a star. But, like, back in the 1600s, like Leonardo's like not Da Vinci, sorry, Galileo's like writing away like poems for like the Medici family. Like, this star in your name, like Venus is yours. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, but that's the thing. Like, they literally thought they could buy the world during the Renaissance. Like, they did think that. They did think that. Europe was like, yeah, I can buy any like, including people. Like, I can buy anything I want right now. So that was a time.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, the modern banking system in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
The Medici family. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say to Julius is that, like, I agree with you on that, Julius, but it's like, the thing I was thinking about on my stream is like, but like, our beliefs today are a product of our times. So in terms of thinking about how do we think about that, it's like, yeah, like, the problem with seeing someone's beliefs that contradict ours and just being like, oh, it's weird, is that potentially we don't recognize how weird our own beliefs already are. You know, like, that's kind of where I was going with that. Like, it doesn't make sense to me to say Leibniz is a genius and stupid, right? It might be that his
But
genius.
Socrates, though, he was genius and stupid. Right.
Or maybe we can say genius because.
Because yeah.
Working together.
I like that relation. They're not opposite. Yeah, they're not opposite. Yeah. And it's also like, think about it from like the future sense, right? Like, what do future people think of our beliefs as weird?
Exactly. Well, and also, if we have some of those beliefs, like some things that we assume that are weird and stupid and wrong to stupid people or to future people, how do we try to avoid them ourselves?
Yeah.
I think that it's helpful to see other smart people's weird, stupid beliefs, because it makes us more aware of the fact that we're going to have weird, stupid beliefs.
We have an image of smartness, like this high IQ kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and it's like this. If you meet that image, if you meet that number, you're genius. But then it's like, no, I don't know. Like, you can like, can you measure? I mean, because they use it. They use that term in like boxing and MMA. They use like fight IQ, ring IQ. This person's ring IQ is really good. What they mean is they know how to handle themselves practically in the moment. They're good at making decisions. It's got nothing to do with like IQ. Like we talk about, like, it's not, they've not taken a fight IQ test, right? Like where they're like so this terminology of IQ has become a large conceptual net that has broadly started replacing the idea of intelligence. And so you'll be like, oh, that's a high IQ movie. It just means it's a highbrow but we've started thinking of it in this quantitative, like, oh, then you gotta have like an IQ of whatever, 160 or something or above. And it's like, no.
Yeah. Well, people say, like, in when I'm playing like Valorant or some video game, like, if someone gets mad on the chat, you say that's a 0 IQ.
Yeah. And it's like I think I like going back to Gadamer. Gadamer had this in his Enigma of Health book, where he's like, no, he's like, we don't know what intelligence means. It's a term we throw about. It comes from the Latin like intelligentsia, which is like this sort of bastardization of Greek phronesis.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he's like that the Greeks, they didn't really have an idea of intelligence the way we do. They thought of phronesis like mastery. And so if you can do something,
like know how.
Yeah, know how. Know that. Yeah. If you can do something so well that people don't even realize you're like, you make it look effortless, that's mastery. And I mean that's great that you can do that. That we look at someone doing math really fast, but we don't, by saying IQ we just sort of relegate it to this neurological realm of like, okay, it's something about their brain that makes them tick. It does. Saying IQ doesn't usually help the case, and then usually it gets propped up with racialist stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's why at this point I don't trust anyone bringing up IQ.
No, yeah.
I know that almost everyone who likes it is actually just secretly some weird
some weird eugenicist thing somewhere down the line. And that's the thing. Like now it's becoming so commonplace that people even without a racialist intention sometimes just seem to use it, like you said, like even just like gaming and stuff, kids are just using it as a catch-all, like you're a smart person or you're a dumb person,
right?
And it's like no, we're forgetting this like qualitative aspect of thinking. Sorry, what was that?
I think Jordan Peterson's partially to blame for that.
Oh man,
he's so popular and he has a bunch of videos.
Do you see that video of his where he's like debating like 20 atheists?
Yeah, I did. Well, I saw the clips.
Yeah, I saw the clip. Yeah, I saw the clip where the kid's like, he's like, you're just insignificant, and he's like, okay, I'm done with you. He leaves and he's like, oh my god, it's so easy to make that guy cry.
I know, right? He's always about to cry.
He's about to cry. Like he cried on Piers Morgan's show the other like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, man. Anyways, I think we should maybe just do this couple of paragraphs and then maybe call it. Then we can pick it up another time.
I to read the poem.
Yeah.
Since technically we didn't get there, but
yeah, you want to skip this and then go to the poem, because I mean, yeah, he just bullshits some.
Good if you want it, just so we could get the poem in there because it's important. You know?
Yeah, and this is just like basic Heideggerian bullshit.
Yeah. Other Heidegger stuff.
Yeah, it's nothing different than what he says in like other things about like meta this and meta that and essence of this but yeah, basically the point of this essay is looking at this one poem by Stefan George called "The Word," and it's just it's a very interesting poem. So take it away.
Yeah. Among Stefan George's late, simple, almost song-like poems, there is one entitled "The Word," which is very close in German. It's "Das Wort." It was first published in 1919. Later, it was included in the collection "Das Neue Reich." The poem is made up of 7 stanzas. The first 3 are clearly marked off from the next 3, and these 2 triads as a whole are again marked off from the 7th final stanza. The manner in which we shall here converse with this poem, briefly but throughout all 3 lectures, does not claim to be scientific. The poem runs: The word. Wonder or dream from distant land I carried to my country's strand, and waited till the twilight norn had found the name within her born. Then I could grasp it close and strong. It blooms and shines now the front along. Once I returned from happy sail, I had a prize so rich and frail. She sought for long and tidings told, no like of this these depths enfold. And straight it vanished from my hand. The treasure never graced my land. So I renounced and sadly see, where word breaks off, no thing may be.
Oh man, I got shivers from that line.
Yeah, it's a great last line.
Where
Do you
word
want-
breaks off, no
in
thing may be.
German?
Yeah. Say it in German. What is it?
I was gonna do the whole poem. I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here, I'll do the whole poem in German so we can hear the German also. Das Wort. Wunder von ferner oder Traum. Bracht ich an meines Landes Saum und hatte bis die graue Null den Namen fand in ihrem Born. Drauf konnt ich greifen dicht und stark, nun blüht und glänzt es durch die Mark. Einst langt ich an nach guter Pferd, mit einem Kleinod, reich und satt. Sie suchte lang und gab mir kund, so schläft hier nicht auf tiefen Grund. Worauf es meiner Hand entrann, und nie mein Land den Schatz gewann. So lernt ich traurig den Vers sieht. Kein Ding sei wo das Wort geblickt.
What's that last word? Geblickt.
Geblickt. That's,
Gebreckt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Geblickt. Like this.
That's the past of break, right?
Yeah, gay is like when you add the gay prefix, it means like you make it like Geworfenheit thrown like
Yeah, Gedanken means thought.
exactly, yeah.
Like that. Like people think like thought experiment is a noun. No. It's thought. Like Gedanken experiment is the actual word. Gedanken means thought in the past tense. Like think. So it's a thought. It's an It's not a experiment in thought. It's an experiment that was thought.
Right. Exactly. So it's like so it's like brick is like like lack or emptiness or whatever. So gebricht is like where kein Wort, where no word, like, or where there's no thing.
Like broken.
Is lacked. Is broken. Is like
Yeah.
exactly.
Like not breaks off, but broken.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. They try to do it by having, I think, the may there, the may, the subjunctive, yeah.
But that's what I like. That's what I like. Like I like the English version of it in that sense because nothing. Maybe like it's if nothing is the or between this and that, this thing and that thing, then it is that ambiguity. It is ambiguousness. It is the maybe. It is nothing but the maybe. Exactly. So nothing may be this thing or that thing.
Yeah.
But in that sense, I'm like, man, this took me down a trip.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I have an idea, but what do you think about language gave you the chills in the last line? That's what Heidegger said, right? That's why he likes his poem.
Yeah.
The whole part is he's trying to get us to have an encounter with language,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so concealed from us that we need to be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
He says that this poem does it, right?
Yeah.
Which is basically building up to that last line. And yeah, like you said, it gives you chills, that last line, so it works in the poem.
Yeah, let me just see. I had a couple of notes that I had made in my paper thing. Yeah, so actually, if we scroll down, if we go down the bottom of this paragraph and we look, the content of the final line can be transformed into a statement. Thus, no thing is where the word breaks off.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
No thing is where the word breaks off. So where the word is broken, that's where no thing is. And the way that I think of it is, if you look at the earlier dialogue on language, the earlier essay, he is looking for this word. The word that can describe this breaking off, this lacking. And on one hand, you can say the word is nothing, but that's still not the case.
Right.
Nothing is not the word. That word also has to be broken
Yeah.
in order to get where no thing is. And how do you break the word nothing? By putting a hyphen in the middle and making it no thing. And so no thing is where the word nothing, no thing breaks off. What you have in the middle is the hyphen, the gap,
Right.
the breaking off, the joining, the conjoining.
Right.
Like, so in my head, Heidegger doesn't know he's saying this because he's saying it in the fucking German. He didn't know English. And so when people are like, study Heidegger in the German, there's a point to it.
Yeah.
But there's a uniqueness about the sort of punny aspect of English that German, because it takes itself so seriously, cannot come to it. Because it is so, this is the non one-to-one correspondence of English actually works in this case.
Yeah, totally.
Because the way that I just said it won't make sense in German because that hyphen doesn't show up there. Really, I don't think it does.
Because the word for the nothing is das nicht, which just doesn't have thing in it.
Exactly. That relation between the word we're looking for and das nicht is not there in German.
Yeah. Right.
It's there here in English, and that relation is the breaking off the hyphen.
Right. Yeah.
So no thing is where the word no thing is said, because the word no thing is the breaking up or breaking off of the word nothing and thing.
I like that. That's great. Because totally, it is the breaking.
No thing does not represent anything but the breaking off.
You just blew my mind.
Yeah, so no thing is where the word no thing is said.
That's amazing.
Because that's how I see no thing as, right? It's not thing, it's not nothing. So it's broken off from this term is broken off from both the categories. And it is the name for the break, for the gap, for that difference that Aristotle says there's no definite name for this.
Yeah. And you know what I like also, they kind of replicate it in the English, but in the German the rhyme on the last two lines is wer sich, which is like to see, and then this gebrich. So it's the rhyming of to see and to break.
It's like sight and brick, like almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I wonder if you could make that in English with like say like ripped.
Oh yeah, true. Well,
So I renounce and sadly see no thing is where the or like no
sight and or I don't know.
not like ripped, but like something that you could find it. So a word that means like break.
Yeah.
Something that
That would be.
it would be like because you could say like so I renounced and sadly like sought. No thing is where word breaks off. Like that kind of works, but I'm saying like then instead of breaks off, then you could have a different.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah, totally. But yeah, what I like about is that the rhyme not only has a certain sound, it makes those two words connect. Right? So it's like the sight. The only reason the sight happens is because of the
breaking.
break. We wouldn't see words. Words disappear away from their wordliness. But when they break, you see them.
And yeah, oh shit, you just blew my mind, because that's not something I thought of earlier, right? Is that you can only see through a hole.
Yeah. Right. Right. Exactly. You have to. Yeah. Exactly. It's covered over, and you have.
Yeah, the clearing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like it's like a hole in the fence. You renounce and you say, but you see the gap,
Right.
but then you realize that the gap is the way through which you can see it at all, because otherwise it's just fence on both sides.
You know, there's Duchamp. He has a piece called "Étant donné," which means like the given, which is like referencing like phenomenology, and it's a whole piece. It's like this like a sculpt. It's like looks like a painting, but it's like actually made in a full room with like a sculpture of like a naked woman in a field and all this stuff. But most people in the museum, it's in the Philly Museum, don't even know it's there because it's all behind a wall, and there's only one little peep.
Right.
To see the painting. So he's kind of referencing that. But I totally I agree.
That reminds me. So if you're ever in Miami, there's a place called Super Blue. It's like a interactive art museum.
Oh,
and
cool.
It's amazing because my parents were here. We went to Miami, and then my sister wanted to see that, so we went. And it's like these 3D art installations with like a big wall. So one of them was this like Buddhist art thing where they just have a massive wall on which they're projecting these images, and it's interactive. So if you touch the wall, it makes the flowers bloom faster. And you can like it's like kind of like stop, like you can slow and speed up the speed of the flowers blooming while you're like in this 3D, and it's being 3D projected. So there's another one where there's mist. There's like they're spraying mist in a layer, and then they're they're using laser beams, almost like a Pink Floyd, like using the mist as a screen, and then they're moving the mist up and down to make the lasers do like all kinds of different things, and they're synced it to music, and so like overall it was a great like phenomenologically like beautiful experience, right? But and at the end at the gift shop I got this. They asked us actually let me see if I have it. Because they asked us at the end to just like write a poem and put it on their wall about what they thought.
Oh, that's awesome! I love
it. So
I
wrote this poem. It's so stupid, but like this was like it's all that came to mind, right? Because I called the poem "Unconcealment." First line comes from Aristotle. Nothing is a name by nature. All things have names given. A name calls forth a thing. It makes it feel like living. The light brings us the misty drops, the form of whom we have forgotten. Waves and particles dance around in a play to strive and be striven. Aletheia is the name of unconcealment, the goddess of light and truth. The light is the medium, the water, the art, and as we stand in the midst of mists afoot.
Oh yeah, I love that. Wait, do these poems stay there permanently?
I don't know. Like they had like a wall where they asked us to like just like plug like write it, and then we on a piece of paper, and then they put it there. Yeah,
find your poems.
It might be there. I don't know. So, but yeah, like at the gift shop they had that, and then they had this like book of like all the different art installations, like a history of the like avant-garde weird art, and it's a lot. Like I mean, they these artists like they were inspired by like the early phenomenologists of the 20th century and that kind of thing, especially like the French and the it's just so to think of like how these people were trying to like basically what they were trying to put through their art, their visual art was like the dance of absence and presence.
Totally, yeah.
Right, and like how presence and absence are relative, and how like I think one of the things in the book was this artist, he made a series of paintings where with every painting he sort of just dimmed one element slow, like
cool.
over time, and so that
Cool.
by the end what you were left with was just a blank field.
That's cool.
But then
Love
like
that.
you can sort of see the traces then as you look through the sequence, and you're like,
Right.
oh, okay, it was this that gave visibility to this other component,
Yeah.
and because of the visibility of this, that this stands out, and if you take this away,
Right.
that it goes flat. And like that sort of relation of opposites and stuff, like it felt like actually like seeing something that I've only like read about, and being like, oh shit, people
Right.
actually put this into like practice and like
Right.
made a thing out of it. But yeah, you should check out the Super Blue Museum, it's called, if you ever go there. Highly
if I go to
recommended.
Miami, I will go.
Yeah, they said they're planning to open like other branches, but this the Miami one's right now the first like and only one. It's the big one.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I want to go to the Miami one because I want to see your poems also specifically. I want to
Yeah.
go to the one where your poem is not.
It was very, like I loved it. It was like it was like being a kid, man. It was so much fun. They had a big wall where they had like a mural, and they had just paintbrushes and palettes, and then you could just take one and anyone can just like go and paint. And so it was like a community like wall. So there was kids with their parents who were painting, and I went there like painted a little fish and like a leaf, and then my sister painted something else. There's a lot of like just it. Because a lot of museums are just like you go there and you stand and like look.
Yeah. Right.
Like this felt like, oh no, I'm looking and this thing is looking back at me, looking back into
Right.
me. I'm a part of the installation. Like I'm feeling the mist as it's moving around, and they're doing the light show. They're like, no, stand in the middle of the room. Like there was one thing, installation that they had a huge like a Christmas tree of lights, and from that thing they had a lamp that if you put your palm under the lamp, it would read your heartbeat, your pulse, and then start pulsing the lights and sound to your heartbeat. And so you'd be standing there, and then the lights, it would take a second, and then the lights would just start going, and they're
Like synced up.
yeah, synced up with your heartbeat. They're right next to you, and it's like a huge Christmas tree shape. Each bulb is about this big, and they're bright. So it's like, an experience of holy shit. That's the activity in my heart. Not like the amplitude, but like the complexity of what's sort of going on. Like you sort of
Who's this?
yeah, the fuses of it.
Yeah.
You really like,
Yeah.
and because it's bassy, you feel it. Like you feel that they're standing right there. It's like the vibrations of it. You feel it, and it was a just like a transformative
right.
like experience, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that's why Heidegger didn't like museums, because the art has to be part of the world. So he would like this museum answers that question.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like when you're just staring at a painting, like
Dude, it really felt like the muses were here.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah,
felt like the muses. Yeah, like I was a muse.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Right? Like you feel like these artists, like mostly museums, like you have museums are of art history or natural history. Museums are supposed to be living art in that sense. Like I don't see like I see museums as like a temple of the muses. Now museums are just collections of historical objects.
Yeah.
This is where the muses felt like they were there. They were alive, and there's water and all these. There was one installation, dude, that was just we're sitting. It's like a little theater room. 8 people were sitting there. There's a TV screen playing, and it's just this bullshit about like we've been trying to find it. We've been trying to find it, and we've never found it. We're looking for it, and they don't say what it is, and they show videos of like babies and like a montage of like nature and humans working, and it's like, we're doing our best, and we're trying to find it, and then it's like, now it's your turn to go find it, and then the screen opens, and behind the screen is a massive hall of mirrors, and you walk in there, and all you can see is yourself, and that's when like I realize I'm like, oh, what they're asking us to look for is like like the self, like it was a Buddhist kind of experience. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, because you're sitting there, you just think you're watching a movie, and then the screen like flips open, and you're invited to like walk in, walk through, and then as you're walking through, it's just mirrors everywhere, and it's sort of like I got lost for a second, because I'm like I don't like where, like it was that moment of like, where do I go? Like I lost my family, my parents. I don't know where they are. It was a trippy, like, especially because you're not expecting it. You're just thrown into this hall of mirrors, and it's like, now, and the voiceover is like, now, go find it. And you're like, what? What am I supposed to do? And then you're just looking around, you're in this hall of mirrors, you're like, wild. It's crazy. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's a little bit, there's a Japanese artist, Yayoi Kusama. She has done some work like that. In terms of like, there's one piece she has. I'm trying to forget. I remember where this is. Might be in Pittsburgh actually. Which is kind of weird, but it's like all the whole room is mirrors. It's not like by yourself, but like, and there's these dots on the mirrors. So you see yourself getting sectioned off in a different way.
Yeah, and then the dot acts as like a reference point, I guess, like as a one point in this whole.
Depending where you look, it fucks things up.
Yeah, because like, I mean, you'd see the reflection of the dot, and the dot would be reflected like I can just exactly. I'm trying to shave my beard, and sometimes I have confusion of like, where is this spot? Like, on if I move right, it'll like left and right on the mirror. It's like, but totally. No. So what I'm thinking is, we can maybe stop here.
Yeah.
We did a decent conversation, got to the sort of meat of it. If you want to pick this up next Friday or something like that, I'd be down. We could maybe see if we can get someone else as well in on this conversation. But this, like, I really want to go through this. There's a lot of good stuff that comes up, but I think we're gonna call it a night for this session.
A poem.
Yeah.
The essay is quite long, but it's basically kind of, the whole thing is kind of keeps referring back
just to those that poem and those 2 lines. So yeah, as long as we cover that, and we even if we don't like go through the rest of the essay, as long as our conversation is revolving around that poem, I think we independently understand this to a point where we can sort of just discuss it. So I think we can do that. Yeah.
The point is to read Nietzsche. It's to think what Nietzsche thought.
Yes. Yeah. And like, that's the thing. Like, just after this thing that he goes, he taught like this that's on the screen, which names the given thing. That's what I wrote in that poem, because I just read this before I went to Miami. So like in that poem where I said the name is, and what does 2 names signify? I'm like, this is Aristotle. Like, when I was reading this, I'm like, this is Aristotle's on interpretation, and then if you go ahead, he refers to that. I'm like, all right, cool. I know what I'm referring to in my thesis now. I know there's something here. I'm not just sort of reading into this. There is to hear about names and convention and like just the language. I was like, there's something here. So yeah. All right, I think we're gonna stop the stream now. Yeah, no problem. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Julius, for your help with the tech at the beginning. I hope you had a good time. We'll hopefully do this again maybe next Friday, but we'll see what our schedules are like. I have this time usually works for me. If you want to do it earlier or something like that, we can also work that out, but we'll talk about that later. All right, see you guys.